points, I kind of realized just about how much it fit into an hour of time, and so maybe you better kind of move things a bit of perspective. There's a limit, and it's going to be my bedtime before it's too long, so we gotta get one thing going here. People are excited about doing things. You know, we do want to somewhat know who's here. I think though at this point, knowing the time and so many are here, David says that if we ask anybody to introduce themselves, with Susie's family, we'd be here till midnight, nobody else will get introduced. And so maybe that's not the way to do it. So maybe I'm going to do, let's see, two things. I think we're going to just go down the list and have you really just stand up so they can see who's here from each family. And I need help going down the list. All I got to do is thank you, Margaret. The Charles family is here with some folks. Where are we? Charles, yeah. There we are. That's the Charles family. I'm Annette and Francis and Joel. Yeah, okay. Let's see. And then Williams family, just about have to divide that up. David's part of Williams family, stand up first. David, you're well represented here. And then maybe Ruth and wife will stand up. Yeah. Here the let's see, Harris family. Good to see you folks. Let's see, Nellie's family, usually all 5 girls and Daryl and so on are here. We're a little limited in representation there this year, but some of those that didn't need them really at this point. The John's family is around, it's through here. How are you? There we go. And Gideon's family, I think some of them traveled farthest. James from Fishkill, New York, or New York, which part? New York City area. And so, anybody travel farther than that for the night? For the weekend, it's really great to see you here. And then Sarah's family is through here. And Junior's family, they're, well, they're mad. That's in the kitchen too, and I think really, I enjoyed my steak in the dinner. Oh. Was there any horse meat there? Times are good. Okay, no horse meat. So, those that you don't understand, that's a good place to have a conversation. Okay, why did I ask Dwayne about horse meat? That's a good one. We had a lot of every kind of game, but there's nothing wrong with you. So, we do have a few things going, and I'm going to bring Ruth up here for just a couple minutes to get you excited about what you're going to show tomorrow. We just actually bring your book over, or I can walk hard way over there. Yeah. So Ruth, who do the You got, just tell them briefly what you got.
I have a lot of letters that have been given to me that my dad wrote to his folks, and I'm going to say, my dad was William, and of course, what we call Grandpa and Grandma, Jacob and Daddy, he called Pa and Mom. So when I'm talking about this, part of the time it's easier for me to say William and Pa and Ma to help keep the generations safe who I'm talking about. But I have a lot of letters, and of course Dad, William, also kept diaries. And David had made a case for them, so we're able to transfer them, and they're all in order. So I started sorting through these letters, thinking some of them would be fun to take to the reunion. So I bought one binder and a bag of box of sleeves. I had to go back and get some more, and I ended up with a 4-inch binder. The letters that Dad wrote, the earliest one are in 1928, and then there's a few of them that are when they were in Bloomington. So they go all the way through. And as I was looking at the diaries and reading the letters, they go together. And you learn the light that's here was Dad's when he was in Harrison going to school. And I know it's a plug that he has put on it, but the cord is the original one. And I have it, I use it, but I have on an outlet that works with a switch. So it's not on all the time just for fear of, that's what I do. And then the letters I compiled, and you're welcome anytime. There's no way that anybody can read through all of this. But it is interesting. There's a couple of them that he wrote. One is from Derek and one is to John. And Dad had a old Chevy, and it was shortly after when he graduated from seminary. And he was having a lot of trouble with his car. Now Dad's letters were not short. Many of these letters are 6 pages long. And it was a little hard to know how to get them in there because the pages is like the pages written on both sides. And there's no lines on those. And, but that's the way he can, and then the communication back and forth. It took a long time for those letters to go back and forth. And they didn't use the telephone. Part of that is the party line, that you don't want to be talking business with your kids. But the expense of it also. So, you learn how the letters went back and forth with reading, and so it's really fun to read. He was worried when he left home. When my mom, Gertrude, would call him Bill. But after he was in the seminary, he became William. So, it's kind of fun to, see those transit books too. And I also discovered as I was going through those, and that's what I want to share tomorrow. He was very concerned, and it always makes me emotional when I talk about it. He was very concerned about his brother Gideon. And so there's a lot of letters in here that are written when Gideon was in World War II. And sometimes it would take a month for a letter that Gideon wrote to get to Pana because of the way it went. And of course there was the V letters and whatnot. So Dad also wrote what I compiled to read tomorrow is the diaries sayings that Dad wrote as his brother was in World War II and wounded and so forth. And what's remarkable to me as I read this, at that time I was 5 and 6 years old. And I remember how concerned the family was for this brother. And I remember visiting Aunt Lorraine in Des Moines, and I knew it was often a prayer issue as we had table prayers and so forth. And so it's interesting to read those diaries, but the letters are in here too in big parts, but sometimes he would write some of it in Dutch as he was reading to his folks. So if you read Dutch, you'll be able to understand the big things that I can't. But it's been fun to put it together. I'm a third generation, and I thought we have talked a lot about Grandpa and Grandma and shared those things. Our parents of us first cousins were that second generation, and many of those have been gone for a lot of years already. And so I thought for all the younger ones that are attending, don't really know who those people are, so I thought it would be fun to share knowing that William was the middle boy of the first 5 children. The first 5 children of Pa and Ma were boys, and my dad was the middle one of those. So, you know, just sharing some of that, and when he went to school and I went, you know, it's kind of interesting. He very seldom took a trip that he did not have a flat tire. And if you think about that in today's knowledge, or then, those tires had tubes in them. So when he had a flat tire, there was something sharp on the road that he picked up. And so often, you know, he would write in his diary that, or to his letters back to Pa and Ma, had only one flat tire. And he also drove 40 miles an hour. And he said it didn't hurt the Chevy at all, by going that fast all the way. And then my father and my mother met in May, is what he called the first dates, on the year that my dad was graduating from Pella High School, from Pella College. So, from there he went to the seminary in Holland, Michigan. The shortest way home from Holland, Michigan is not through Pella. But it's what he did, especially on Christmas time and so forth. One Christmas he didn't go home, he went after he was in Pella. But otherwise he would stop first and then go the other way. It makes me tired thinking about 40 miles an hour and all those ways, you know. So it really was fun to learn those things about where our parents have been. You know, we know what has transpired in our time. But to be able to pass some of that on and understand how they lived and what life was like for them. So you know, and then I have a little book that Mother made for Grandpa Wolbrink that has all the family's pictures in with little children. I think that's what I'm looking to that. Forget that one. So, feel free to look at that, and then there's a little plaque that was given in 1939, was given to them for a Christmas gift. And that, I thought that was kind of interesting and, you know, to bring with it. And then I have a little booklet also that stories that Uncle Gideon told them, and Aunt Lorraine wrote them, and compiled in a little book, and was given to Grandpa and Grandma at Christmas time. So, but if you're reading in here and there's an envelope in the way, don't be afraid to take it out. I do keep it in there, just because of the postmarks and the stamps that are on it, but because the papers, the letters written on both sides of the paper, we can't read them, and I couldn't, it's like, it's already so thick. Felt they were nice, they could, kept in here, so, have fun looking through it, and get the letters in here, I've had Judy with Eric and John, and he goes on and on for 2 whole pages about that car, so it's kind of fun to hear it.
Yeah, they'll be laying up here, so they're, part of it is to whet your appetite, basically, to go ahead and handle and look at them, and maybe they're fragile, but they don't do any good in the shelf or in the box, and so they're to share, so look at them, and that's to whet your appetite. Ruth has plans to share a few more specifics of some of the letters and diary and so on tomorrow, afternoon, somewhere. So, Dave, have you spent any time at all in genealogy? Well, thanks for what you are doing with that. That's really special. Build that family tree. That's quite the project.
As King Henry VIII said, to each of you several lives. I will not teach them all. If I say Alex here, what do you say? Roots, exactly. That's what this is about. It's heritage, and I want to promote heritage. Was Grandfather Jacob married to Patty? How many children did they have? 10. If all but sat around the dining room table and talked about it being a lot like the Last Supper, 12, whatever. No. However, they hardly ever, because of timing. Their birthdays are spread so wonderfully through the year. 12 people, 12 months. Do you know how many months there are without a birthday? Only 2. Only twice are the birthdays doubled up in a month. So there's a lot of interesting stuff to learn about that. Ruth mentioned 3rd generation. I'm 3rd generation. Harlem's 3rd generation. Raise your hand if you're 3rd generation direct descendant. Isn't that neat to have so many of us here? And it's sorry that more aren't here. The Dykstra clan, always so faithful, and several others that just aren't here. We really don't know the Richards family. That's too bad. But that's the 3rd generation. We think we're pretty big numbers, 3rd generation. But you know what? The 4th generation is now more important than we are. So everybody that's 4th generation, raise your hand. I think it's great to see that many 4th generation people here. Harold and Jim Richards, Harold and Jim were the ones who brought up this idea of cousins reunion, and I almost said cousins revolution, but this is a cousins reunion, not a revolution. Jim was traveling. He met Harold at the Omaha airport. They had dinner together and talked about the possibility of having a cousins reunion. Jim brought that idea back to Alan, and Alan promoted it. He's the one who sent out the first letters. The first letter came out early in 93. And then later in 93, he sent a letter that kind of summarized what happened. what the presidents did at that time. 38 presidents were alive at that time, I believe. Today there are 29 still alive. So we're disappearing. And that's why the fourth generation has to take over. They have to be more important for this. Keep this going. The genealogy issue that I have over here, I want you to enjoy it. I want you to spend some time on it. I'll go up there and hang out, sit at the table and talk. If you like it, I'll talk all day. But I want you to spend some time on it. There's one for each of the 10 children to take. There's some other things that you can take, a lot of things you can take. One of the things I want you to take is a little souvenir booklet that I wrote about Grandpa Jacob. And I want everybody to take one per family. I don't have enough for every person to take one, but every one per family. There are today 96 direct descendants in generation 4. 96. We've got a great turnout here, but it's a small fraction of the 96, and so that's some missionary work that we've all got to do. And the fifth generation, look at that, 187. Now, they don't have as many spouses yet. You know the reason for that? Well, they're too young. A lot of this comes from the Netherlands. Friesland is that province way up in the North Sea. A lot of fishing, but industry too. There's a lot of claims about Gelderland. Some of those claims don't stick as well as the claims about Friesland. So most of you who think you're from Gelders are probably from Friesland. The 4 towns, Leeuwarden is the big one, but then the 3 towns figure in the births and deaths significantly. You'll find people buried in the old church in Halland, ancestors' law. You'll find births taking place in well, let me give you an example. Leeuwarden is the name of the city. Well, in the language, Leeuwarden is the municipality, county, I guess, or a township or something. And then they like the county, I guess, and the state would be Friesland. Go back a long way. Peter Yellis, Jacob's great-great-grandfather, 1730. What else happened there? His mother's great-grandfather, the Dutch people revolted against the meat tax. The government had put a very unpopular tax in place. The colony of Georgia was founded in America, and George Washington was born in that. The United States is that in 1730 was just that eastern part with it. In 1801, Hattie's grandfather, and in 1810, Hattie's maternal grandfather. 1811, Napoleon ruled the Netherlands, and he decreed that every person must have a last name. Very important. In 1830, Jacob's father, Louis Peter's father, was born. And in 1830, the Civil War resulted in the separation between Belgium and the Netherlands. So Jacob stopped in Wolbrink, was born 1875, as already we talked. First Custer's last day. A year later, right?
76.
And the first pump and it wasn't portable. He was 8 years old when he sailed. Black Bart robbed his last stagecoach in the same year, and he got caught because he dropped his monogrammed handkerchief. North America adopted four time zones. same time that Jacob did. Isn't that an amazing coincidence? Jacob came over on the SS Zondam, a whole carbon line ship. There was a Zondam 2. It was torpedoed during World War II by the German U-boat. Zondam 3 is still available if you want to take a cruise. I think they do the Alaska thing once in a while. It was an iron ship. It was made for 442 third-class passengers. In the manifest, it shows that there were 842, I don't know. Anyway, 842. Made for 442, there were 842. The ship was 300 feet long. The middle part, of course, was boilers and steam. So there was two decks on this, two tween decks on the front, two tween decks in the back. And people were all crammed in. They calculated, they got about 8 square feet apiece. They didn't land at Ellis Island. Ellis Island wasn't in business yet. They landed at this island here. It's Castle Garden Island. Castle Garden is a man-made island, 200 feet off the tip of Manhattan. Built for a castle in the beginning. It was in Manhattan in the old days. Then no longer needed as a castle. It was used as an immigration transfer and immigration processing center. There's a 200-foot bridge. The ship ties up to Castle Garden Island. Little 8-year-old Jacob gets off. He's probably carrying the police, although he may have been stuck with a trunk, because they had 2 trunks and a police in their manifest. He walks up that 200-foot ladder. He's in America. He's in America. The land of opportunity. He's in New York City. Well, be careful, because there are a lot of bad guys on the street. So, they started out in South Dakota. He bought the first place, the whole place, the whole quarter for $200 down. For $700, paid $200 down, bought a $500 mortgage. Here he was. How old would he be there? 25. 3 years later, he got married. He had a house by that time to build it. And in that same year, they drilled a well that Wayne used until 1983. The rest is history. That's us. The reason I'm doing this is to promote that stuff. Okay? Thank you. Other questions? No questions? Good.
It's interesting, Fran and I did a little bit of Alaskan in the Passage cruise last year, Labor Day, on the Zondam. Different one than this one. They continue the name, so that's fun.